Hello, everyone. Welcome to Astro-Duet. Once a month, as astrological association, we will have invited two different colleagues and join the discussion. And I'm your host, Rod Chang. And today is dear Lianne McCafferty and Chris Mitchell going to join us for the discussion of Aries Ingress. And most of us know this is kind of a pretty important day or event for the astrology. So, Chris, do you want to tell us why?
Well, if I kick off just by talking a little bit about the history of all of this, the equinox has always been, the spring equinox has always been a really significant date astrologically, and in Christianity as well, and also in Islam. It's still, the spring equinox is still the start of the traditional Persian New Year, which, rather topically, they still celebrate in Iran. So we actually have a new year starting at the equinox. But it wasn't just the New Year, it might just be the New Year in Iran now, but it was the New Year generally in Christian Europe as well, historically. What used to happen is the very early church found it difficult to calculate when the equinox was, and they assumed that it was the 25th of March. They were out by a few days, and because of procession and things, things did shift anyway a little bit. But the 25th of March fitted in quite nicely with the Christian story of Christmas being the 25th of December, because, well, if Jesus was born on the 25th of December, that means that the Virgin Mary must have been impregnated on the 25th of March, assuming that divine gestation periods are the same as human ones. So they called it Ladies' Day, or the Annunciation, when the angel appeared to Mary and told her. So that was the start of the new year. And this is absolutely crazy because they realised that because of procession, Easter was getting later and later and later, and it all got a bit embarrassing. And so in the 16th century, Pope Gregory the 13th said, "This is crazy. We've got to change the calendar and get everything back in line again. And while we're at it, let's get rid of the idea of the new year starting on March the 25th. Let's start it on January the 1st instead." And these were called the Gregorian reforms, the Gregorian calendar. As astrologers, I think we're probably all familiar with the Gregorian calendar. It's the one that we is used across the world now. But of course, places like England and Scotland and some of the Protestant countries said, "We're not doing what the Pope tells us to." So we took absolutely no notice of this and carried on using the Julian calendar. But then in 1752, it got so crazy that even Britain, well, England actually, Scotland followed suit later on. England said, right, we're going to stop this and we're going to start having the new year on January the 1st instead of March the 25th. If you look at, say, William Lilly, so he'll put a chart up and he'll say things like, this is the chart for February the 18th, 1648 stroke 9. And you think, well, what's that all about? It's crazy because the dating system went like this. Today is the 18th of March. We think of it 18th of March 2026. If we were around before, if we hadn't done this change, we would say, no, no, today's the 18th of March 2025. And in a few days' time, it'll be the 24th of March 2025. And then the new year begins on the 25th. So the next day would be the 25th of March 2026. So dates in January and February were all a bit vague. Well, did you mean this year or next year? Oh, well, it depends which calendar you use. So it really was a crazy system. And what the calendar reform slightly tweaked how leap years work. We have a leap year every 4 years. That was true in the Julian calendar as well. But in the Gregorian calendar, you have a leap year every 4 years, except every century we skip a leap year and don't have a leap year. But every 400 years we do. None of us alive today have ever noticed this because 1900 wasn't a leap year. But I'm guessing that none of you were around in 1900, so you didn't notice that. We were all around in 2000, but that's divisible by 400, so that was a leap year as normal, so we didn't notice. And 2100 won't be, and some of you will be around in 2100. I'm not really expecting to be, so I probably won't notice it at all. But in order to get the calendar back in sync, we also lost 11 days. And no, the rumours said, oh yeah, people rioted in the streets because they thought the government was stealing 11 days from them. They didn't. The only people that were annoyed were the traders because they had to pay their taxes on Lady Day, the 25th of March. And they said, we're not paying our taxes 11 days early. And the government went, oh, all right, then we'll shift the tax date 11 days forward. And that's why our tax year in the UK ends on the 5th of April rather than the 25th of March. All because the Virgin Mary got pregnant on the 25th of March. So that's why we have a strange tax year in England. Um, but how did medieval astrologers make use of it? They used the Aries Ingress chart much as astrologers do today, but we're lucky today because we've got really accurate computers. So we can work out exactly when the ingress is within a few seconds. Medieval astrologers couldn't really do that. They would know that the sun's moving into Aries on, say, the 20th or 21st of March, but it'd be quite difficult to work out exactly what time to the nearest few minutes that was. And that means your chart could be wrong because you don't quite know where the ascendant's going to be. So the technique that they used to use would say, well, we know that the ingress is, say, the 21st of March. When was the previous full moon or new moon prior to the ingress? Because they were very good at calculating that. They could calculate that very accurately to within a minute or two. So that meant that you could draw up a proper chart with houses and everything else. And of course, the new moon before this ingress is tonight. Well, technically tomorrow morning UK time. It's about 1 in the morning, I think, roughly. So we later tonight, if you go to bed late, if you're in the UK, you will, that's when the new moon will be. This is the ingress chart, and medieval astrologers would say this is highly significant as a pattern for the year. And there were all sorts of techniques that they used, but one that I thought was a little bit weird were the Arabs used something called Arabic parts, where you calculate a calculated point on a chart, and they invented loads of new ones for crops. So they had a part of chickpeas and a part of watermelons and things like that. And this was to determine how their crops were going to perform. And when I first saw this, I thought, well, this is crazy because the new moon chart is going to be the same all over the world for the planetary positions. It's only the ascendant, midheaven, and things that are going to change. But then my interest was piqued when Reuters reported in 2016 that there was likely to be an EU-wide wheat shortage because the wheat crops in Strasbourg in France, which is the main wheat growing area for Europe, had been absolutely terrible and there was a dramatic wheat shortage. But then somebody pointed out that in Bulgaria, the wheat crops were actually much better than normal. And as a result, we didn't have a bread shortage in 2016 because Bulgaria was able to fill the gap. And I thought, well, this sounds like a case for an Arabic parts examination, doesn't it? If this crop, and they've got parts for crops, what was the part of wheat like in 2016? Why should Strasbourg and Bulgaria be different? So I'm just going to share my screen because I just found this amusing. I don't know how, bear with me, don't know just how accurate this is, but it seemed to be quite interesting in this case. Here is how you calculate the part of wheat. You take the distance between Jupiter to the Sun and project it onto the ascendant. If you know anything about Arabic parts like the part of fortune, it's a fairly standard formula. I haven't got time to go into it now, but it's quite easy to work out, and your software will tell you what these parts are. And here's a map of the two wheat growing areas. Can everybody see that, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so here's Strasbourg on the roundabout there in eastern France, and here's the wheat growing area in Bulgaria. Strasbourg had a bad crop, Bulgaria had a good crop. So what did the charts look like? Well, if I cast the chart for the new moon before the spring equinox for Strasbourg, we can see it looks like this. There's the new moon down at the bottom at 18 degrees 55 of Pisces. And okay, ignore the fact that the part of fortune's on the ascendant. That's always going to be the case for a new moon. But the important thing is, where is the part of wheat? Well, there it is, pretty much on the descendant at 25 degrees of Gemini. So what we can do is say, well, that's ruled by Mercury. So the part of wheat for that year was ruled by Mercury. Well, what state is Mercury in? Well, Mercury's down here in Pisces, 6 degrees of Pisces, and it's square to Mars. So Pisces isn't a happy placement for Mercury. I mean, not that bad in a natal chart. I've got Mercury in Pisces, but in traditional terms, Mercury is in detriment and in fall in Pisces. And he's afflicted by Mars. He's square to Mars. And he's got no what they call essential dignity. He's not in rulership. He's not got any kind of rulership there. So he's not really in very good condition. And so here's Mercury in Pisces. And why did the crop fail? It was due to massive floods. The crop was basically waterlogged. And here we have the part of wheat in a watery sign, ruled by a planet that's really not very happy in watery signs. So that's the French wheat crop. And you think, well, surely the chart's going to be the same for Bulgaria. And of course it is in terms of planetary positions, but because the longitude's different, all the angles change. So now the part of wheat, still over here, but this time it's in Cancer. Well, Cancer's a watery sign, so it might not mind water, and it's in Cancer, so it's ruled by the moon. Now there's the moon in Pisces, but the moon, unlike Mercury, is quite happy being in a watery sign. She's got quite a lot of dignity. The moon likes water signs. Okay, the moon is still, well, it's got an opposition to Jupiter, and it's still, and the moon happens to be square to Saturn, which isn't terrible, not terribly happy. So the moon's a little bit afflicted, but not bad. I mean, the moon is a fertile planet. She's in a fertile sign, and she's quite happy there. So the moon's not in spectacular condition, but she's not bad. She's got some pretty good features. And the wheat crop here in Dobrich worked really well. So whether or not there's any merit in this technique, I don't know. I'm not a farmer. I haven't tried it with any other crops, but it could be an interesting little topic to research. So I just wanted to share that as an example of this is how the Arabs worked out their crops in advance. And of course, then they could set the price. So if you're a watermelon farmer or a chickpea farmer and you know it's going to be a bad crop, you make sure your prices are set higher. And if it's going to be a good crop, well, you can put a promotion on and that sort of thing. So they did use it on a day-to-day basis. These Arabic parts really were used to determine things like that. So that's what I wanted to share.
Wow, it's so interesting. We have not just learned that the why we use the new moon or full moon before the equinox or the solstice, but we also learn why UK's accounting year fall on the 5th of April. I always question why annoying me
I
like
know.
this, and now we know that because they
It
don't
is
want to pay
crazy,
tax
isn't
11 days earlier. That is so interesting and fascinating. Chris, you should share your knowledge more. You're a national treasure. We really need you. Okay,
it?
Lianne,
Thank
what are
you.
you going to share with us?
Yeah, I'm going to look at some more history, but just very quickly there, I think that's a really interesting technique that everyone can put into that Astro toolkit, if you like. It's like we always focus on the Aries Ingress itself, but let's look at the lunation beforehand, the new moon
Mm,
beforehand. I think that's really, really interesting. So thanks for sharing that, Chris. So before we actually get into the ingress itself, I just wanted to look back at some history because we're in pretty spectacular times, aren't we? Historically and astrologically. So I just wanted to have let me just share this and then oh hang on, bear with me. Right, it would help if I pressed share. I will press share now and share. Okay. Slideshow. Computer's just gone. So can everyone see that now?
It's
not
still
yet, but don't
saying,
worry.
there
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Yeah,
popped up now. Yeah.
big red screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So as we know, we've just had the Saturn Neptune conjunction at the end of February. We can't ignore that. It's the big elephant in the room with this ingress, isn't it? So I thought it would be really interesting to look back at previous times where we had an Aries ingress with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. All right. And they're not as common as you'd think. This is really a pivotal moment that we're living through. But very quickly, before I talk about these dates, the last time we had a Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries was like 4th, 5th millennium. It was about 4,362 BCE. I'm sure you've all heard that sort of being talked about. And you know, that 4th, 5th millennia time, it was like a really pivotal point because societies were beginning to differentiate. They were specializing, and they were building towards, creating cities and writing and long distance cultural networks. So it was very much a period of slow but profound shifts in the identity and the rituals within collective organization. Populations were growing more steadily, and regional cultures were differentiating through art and language and early technologies. And I do think this is going to be a really sort of pioneering time regarding technology. Okay. But if we look at these previous ingresses where they had Saturn and Neptune in Aries, obviously, if we start at the top here, we've got 2026. In the next couple of years, we'll have Aries ingress of Saturn and Neptune. Then we go back to the 1700s, all right? And we go back to 1703, and that was actually the last time we had a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, all right? And around this time, we had things like the golden age of piracy, we had global exploration, pioneers, people were like exploring the world, but they were often plundering other lands and civilizations and helping themselves to the treasures of other civilizations. And they saw no boundaries. Okay, and it's quite familiar to what we're seeing today, isn't it, in some ways? If we look at 1703, in 1702 we had Queen Anne's War, and it was the second in a series of French and Indian wars fought in North America, and it was involving the colonial empires of Great Britain, France, and Spain. But one thing that I found really interesting was in 1703, here in Great Britain, the Recruiting Act came into force, which was about the enlistment of able-bodied men into the English army. And the Royal Navy really started expanding to fight Queen Anne's War in the North Americas. So we're seeing echoes, aren't we, of those type of things. And then we go back to the 1300s. We were in the middle of the Hundred Years' War, which was a significant conflict in the Middle Ages. But that war itself had a really significant effect on European history because both sides in the wars, they produced innovations in military technology and tactics. And the stronger national identities took root in all the kingdoms, and became more centralized. And we saw like emerging global powers coming about at that time. I'm not a historian, I have to admit, that's more Chris's domain. But we can go back to, the 1000s and the 11th century there. I know here in Great Britain, Scotland became a single kingdom. We had the rise of Norman power. So there were all sorts of social and cultural changes going on. And even actually, if you go back to 880, we were in the thick of the rise of the Holy Roman Empire. And if we get time later, empires are something I'd love to talk about with you, Chris. But I'll save that till we actually get onto the ingress chart itself. So I just thought that was really interesting with the historical echoes, but I think this also shows how significant this particular ingress is, and for the next couple of years. And one last thing that I picked up on, every time I was looking at these ingresses, I was looking to see where Pluto was. And Pluto just happens to be in fixed signs every time we've had a Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries with the Aries ingress, which I thought was interesting. And I need to think about that more. I need to do more research on that when I've got time. But I just wonder if this is about, this coinciding with long-term societal evolution. You know, it's not just, you know, a few fashions and trends that are coming, but it really is, you know, these are pivotal points within the evolution of our culture, society, global dynamics, global power, politics, etc. So that's it from a historical perspective. Do you want me to pop up the chart of the actual ingress, or do you have any thoughts on that, Chris?
No, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? That Pluto's always in a fixed
I
sign.
know.
To saw
Yeah.
how common that is. But no, let's have a
Yeah.
look at the ingress chart. That's
Yeah.
fascinating, Lianne. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I need to do some more research on that. I've just put something else on my list that just gets longer and longer. Anyway. Okay, can everyone see that all right? Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
embracing the fire. I don't have any fire in my chart, so I'm just like, I'm going for this. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, isn't it, to be honest, you know? Do you want any thoughts, Chris?
Well, no, should we open it up and see what other people
Yeah, yeah.
think?
Sure. Yes. Okay. I will allow people can unmute yourself and share, share your view of this um English chart. Anyone?
I like Jupiter in Cancer. Let's whatever happens, Jupiter's in Cancer right now, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
You know, so we have to really keep it, you know, and Pluto's in Aquarius, so it's going to be from, you know, it's remodeling humankind right now.
Yeah.
We're going to be remodeled.
Yes.
Yeah.
That Jupiter in Cancer is pretty interesting because a 15 degree is not far from the fixed star series. And that was so interesting. One thing I realized was the last week we have Jupiter stationary for maybe like 3 day, 5 day. And there was a time, what are we talking about? There was a time because I was traveling, so I was tired and jet lagging, so I don't really pay attention. But even I saw that news, I wasn't related them together. Was that Jupiter stationary at the 15 degree Cancer, and then what in the United States, Rubio talking about the Iran regime is extremely low religious and this and that, and people are compare on the social media, compare the Trump was sitting there and only religious was praying with him, and was compared that we are focused on two different type of they point out Iran is the run by the religious, and that was Jupiter stationary, and I wasn't really noticed until like afterward. I said, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah.
It's also interesting you're talking about Jupiter being stationary. Well, Jupiter trines, it's quite a wide trine, but I'd call it a trine. A Mercury that is now stationary, or at least stationary in the ingress chart.
Oh yes.
And that Mercury is absolutely slap bang on the node, on the north node. And Jupiter's also trining Mars much more closely. So and Jupiter, I think Laura pointed out that Jupiter's at 15 Cancer, which is the sweet spot for exaltation for Jupiter. 15 is particularly significant. And Jupiter is said to receive those. So Jupiter is helping Mars and Mercury. And I wonder what that Mercury on the node is, that communication and mercurial things are very much at the fore at the moment. So that's interesting, because I think we've had a lot of very confused communications in recent months. So I wonder if that's going to signal some sort of change.
It could be signature of whole year, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. If I just quickly start with that Mars Jupiter trine, it's a water trine, isn't it? And obviously the quest and the voyage, the oceanic warfare that we're seeing going on in the Middle East at the moment, it couldn't be manifested more literally, could it? You know, and especially echoed by Saturn, Neptune, Aries, you know, the oceanic themes that we've got. But there's like almost an ideological and religious quest regarding homelands with that water trine there. I think we might have themes of migration kicking off later this year with that. But, you know, coming to that stationary Mercury, it's like everyone's holding their breath. It's like, what's going to happen? Is this going to calm down, or is this going to blow up? It's that collective breath hold, isn't it? And it's like that Mercury station. It's like, I can't believe we're stuck in this situation again. Have they not learned from previous wars and invasions, etc.? But I think, you know, we're all thinking we're into a fresh new start with the Ingress and the Saturn Neptune at 0 Aries, but there's still loose ends to tie up, and Mercury's capturing that. There's still water to flow under the bridge, isn't there? And I think even though everyone wants to move forward into a new model of what the future might look like, you know, some people are still stuck in old ways of thinking, or we're caught in recurring thought patterns, you know. But there's still quite a lot of old energy here, I think, with Pisces being triggered, and Jupiter and Cancer triggers the past as well. So yeah, I think we're sort of at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning, but we're still sort of caught in the past a little bit. And I think our sense of time has gone crazy. I've completely lost my inner clock is not working at all. I don't know how anyone else feels. I can't keep track of which week I'm in. Does anyone else feel the same?
I got caught.
I thought it was my jet lag.
You've got an excuse though, I
That's-
don't.
No, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
It's a
yeah.
real
This,
bucket chart, isn't it, for people that use shapes, like
yeah,
everything crammed into Pisces and
yeah.
Aries, and then you've got Jupiter and Juno and Pluto as the top of the bucket, and then the handle.
Mm.
There's nothing there in terms of either modern or
Yeah.
traditional planets. I don't know what are those two in the third house, Lianne?
Oh,
So
Lianne, tell us more.
we've got dwarf planet Makemake, which is kind of triggering the US. It's square the US. Sorry, it's triggering the US chart, it's a Sibley chart at the minute. And we've got Haumea, which is the one down in Scorpio. I might talk about them later, but
Mm,
I use them all the time, so I just left them in there. But I just feel Jupiter in Cancer is a little bit of an outlier there. It's just a
mm,
tiny bit separated from the rest of the chart,
yeah.
perhaps.
Mm.
And you know, Jupiter's wonderful. It's very strong in Cancer, but it can work either way. It can exacerbate whatever's
Mm.
there.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it can exacerbate what's good and what's bad. And I think Jupiter is perhaps causing some issues at the minute in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Robbie. Robbie say Mercury retrograde conjunct the South Node in Pisces in the signature and an old and intuitive poetic mind. They must be learned, translate diffusion spiritual knowledge in clear and useful speech. That is very beautiful. And then Lianne, that symbol at 11 degree Libra, is that Makemake?
It is,
Or
yeah, it is. And you know, Makemake can be described as a higher octave of
mm,
Uranus. So it's about innovation and anything that's shockingly genius beyond what we can even imagine right now. But it's also about things from the air.
yeah.
So because Makemake was the Birdman god of Easter Island, of
Mm,
the, you know, Rapa Nui people. So, for example, Makemake was really, really prominent in the chart of the 9/11 attack.
mm,
And it just filled in a gap that chart perhaps didn't sort of justify the scale of what happened at that time.
mm.
So, you know, it could certainly link to sort of like all the drones and the attacks
Uh,
in the sky, that type of thing, amongst other things. You know, these planets never just describe one thing. They always
Definitely.
describe, you know, several things. So, yeah.
Yeah, because we have Benjamin mentioned about the it's not far from the summer midpoint. Yes, it's about 1 degree, around
Mm.
1 degree. This market is around the summer midpoint. Yes, thank you, Benjamin.
I think it's also worth pointing out this chart is set for London. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is to do with the UK. Obviously, if you set the chart for Washington or anywhere else,
Yeah.
that big stellium is going to be in different houses. So it's just worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's why I didn't choose to talk about the houses tonight,
Yeah,
just the
yeah,
chart in
absolutely.
general. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Uh, Feel free to unmute yourself and join the conversation, please.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for us, for Europe, we have like planet around the West Hemisphere and the South Hemisphere on the top of the chart, and that feel like it's kind of a pretty uh, we will say active. We will be very busy, but around this time, all around the world, everyone will be like every government will be like super busy. Yesterday, what I heard about my friend is like talking about his mom is started piling up the tin food. I say, is that too late? We have someone. Hi, Robbie. Yeah, feel free
Hi.
to unmute yourself.
Yes, it's. I think it's been remarkable that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction has once again coincided with such a vast transition. And the previous one coincided with the fall of the Berlin Wall,
Yeah.
and now we've had the coincidence with the US and Israel invasion or attack on Iran. And one thing I'd like to just expand on my comment about Mercury in the South Node, because when a planet is in retrograde, it can form a conjunction with the node for a long period. And so with this, and when Mercury aligns with the node for nearly 2 weeks, it's that intensifies the energy of that aspect, and I just cannot help but seeing the way President Trump is flailing about in response to his war actions, like the confusion and emotion and vagueness of his efforts just seem to reflect this this difficulty that we see with Mercury sitting on the node for 2 weeks, since Mercury went retrograde just before the invasion on the 28th of February. So we've been in this Mercury retrograde period through the start of this war, which is it's very disturbing. Like, I just don't think he thought about what was going to happen with world fuel supplies and the other problems that we're facing.
I think that's a really interesting point about, as you say, 1989 was the last time this happened. I actually went to the Soviet Union in 1989 on holiday, and everything was like falling to bits around me, but it felt very optimistic. But that wasn't true all over the world. I mean, Tiananmen Square was also 1989,
Yeah.
and that was brutally put down. So it wasn't just a time of, oh, look, Saturn Neptune was great in 89. It was definitely a mixed blessing, and that's and as you say, it's history repeating itself now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about a sort of redefinition of borders. The Berlin Wall came down. It was like a border dissolving. It's about democracy and peacekeeping as well in the general scheme of things. Saturn and Neptune really want to keep the peace, I guess. But obviously they're a little bit triggered in Aries perhaps at the moment. But it's just about there's just so much fire going on, literally, isn't there? It's like people are going to start getting more and more fired up, I think. And it's going to take us a while to get acclimatized, because we've come from an era of earth and water, haven't we? We've had Capricorn triggered by Saturn and Pluto, and And Taurus is still in Taurus for a while longer. We've had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. It's been earth, water, and now we're moving into that air, fire. And it's going to take a while. And I think it might be really quite excitable to begin with. I think we're seeing ripples of that. People being impetuous and not thinking, acting in a very Aries manner, you know, like Trump, just not thinking things through. But that's perhaps his natural default setting anyway, isn't it? You know, but you know, one thing about the Saturn Neptune conjunction and all the fire that we have, I've been talking about this for so long. Rod knows this. I was talking about this last year, the films, you know, Avatar, the new Avatar film last year was fire and ash. Yeah. We'll see the fire coming through in all the movies and TV. And there's a couple of quotes from that movie which I think are so apt, and I'm going to share them and then I'll shut up and let someone else speak, right? So there's one quote and it says, "The people cried for help, but Awa, the god, did not come. We must take matters into our own hands. You want to spread your fire around the world. You need me. We must fight. Fire is the only pure thing in the world." And I think this ingress is calling us to become our own heroes, to lead the way and not wait for rescue. Europe can't wait for the US for rescue. The US can't wait for Europe or NATO for rescue. But where there's heroes, there's always going to be villains too, isn't there? You know? So I think this ingress speaks about autonomy, about self-determination, and the courage to fight for our needs, to fight the battles that we choose to fight and not be forced into them. So yeah, I'll shut up now. Let someone else speak.
I just wanted to add, I think Robbie was too modest to mention this himself, but Robbie is an astrological researcher. Robbie was just now talking about Saturn Neptune cycles and has actually done quite a lot of research into Jupiter Saturn Neptune cycles in the AA's publication Correlation. So yeah, we know that you know what you're talking about, Robbie.
That's right. I view it as the time signature of the solar system,
Yeah.
because there are exactly 60 Saturn Neptune conjunctions in one astrological age, and so it's something that connects our Earth to the big patterns of the solar system, and this current Saturn Neptune conjunction, the way I look at it is to say we're entering the 12th house of the age of Pisces, which is we're in this extraordinary cusp transition period between the age of Pisces for the last 2,000 years and the age of Aquarius for the coming 2,000 years. And because this Saturn Neptune conjunction has occurred in just into Aries, in terms of the long pattern, it has this extraordinary forward-looking feature, like the fact that it's right at the equinox point is really quite powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Robbie.
Thank you. Well, any comment before we wrap up? Pretty quiet today, isn't it?
It is,
Well,
yes. We normally have quite a good discussion. Don't be shy, people. Do feel free to
interesting.
join
We
in.
have quite a lot of numbers people here, but just like very quiet. I don't know who become a bit.
It's a discussion. We want to know your views as well.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
just
We have
talking about
someone. Yes, Violeta.
Hi guys from Turkey.
Hiya.
I'm quite new in the astrology trip, so I'm not very, I mean, as the most of you guys, you are very experienced. What Lianne said is that it's a call for, you know, individuality and start our own things. From my point of view, because of the nodes and because of the North Node is in Pisces, I think that it is okay. Yes, we can start new things. You can have a look on our individuality, but never forgetting the past, never losing our experiences and what we have learned from the 89, from the 4,000 years ago, from all the wars we have seen. Maybe it is a new era for us to understand that having signs and having planets in Aries doesn't actually mean war, doesn't actually mean fire. Maybe it is the time for us to invent something new, to use the power of the planets and the stars with a different way. That's why Mercury was retro for for a long time, and exactly when Sun goes into the Aries, stops, it's in station, and starts to rethink again the pieces, and leave alone the North Node, and together with Aries, go inside the together with Mars, go inside Aries. This is my point of view. I don't know if it is, if you can accept it or not, but I have a positive. I want to see the positive things out of any aspect, and I like history, and I like to learn, because we say that a person that knows history can grow. So a country or a community that understands history will be able to grow and make changes. And Sun in Aries means new beginnings. So let's have new beginnings, my opinion.
Thank you, Violeta. Beautifully said. I 100% agree with you. It's not everything in Aries means war, and also what happened in the history we always remember. We can add something we learned from before. Robbie, please.
Yeah. So the fact of course the ingress reflects the moment when the Sun enters Aries, and because the Saturn Neptune conjunction was at the first degree of Aries, the Sun is now crossing that Saturn Neptune conjunction point, and so reinforcing the energy of Saturn and Neptune. We've got this triple Saturn has moved on to 4 degrees, but it's still within orb for this the triple conjunction, and the Sun moves across Neptune and Saturn over the coming few days. So that seems to be such a strong signature. And then, as was just mentioned, the other planets that are in Aries, like primarily the Moon and Venus, but then also some other smaller planets and Chiron, that all reinforces this Aries inception energy. And then with also Pluto having recently relatively moved into Aquarius of the coming starting the big deep energy for the coming decades, and soon we have Uranus move back into Gemini again, as was mentioned before, this fire and air energy that really characterizes the coming years.
Thank you, Robbie. Yeah. Any comment? Feel free before
Thank
we
you so
close
much.
down today's discussion.
Great idea.
Yeah, I agree with what Violeta says. It isn't just about war. It's not. It's just that's where our focus is at the minute, isn't it? Because the media is bombarding us with that. But there's going to be some incredible inventions and discoveries, and it is very, very pioneering. It's if you're going to start a new business up, it's brilliant for entrepreneurial energy, that type of thing. Fire is so creative. It's a force that shapes our lives and spirits, and it's about creativity and passion and resilience, and they're traits we perhaps need to hold on to when we're bombarded with what's going on in the news, with politicians that are out of control, and yeah, that type of thing.
Oh my.
Yeah, we have Natalie mentioned, could it be pioneering on the ocean? I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to add just a quick things because we have one fixed star Skiat is recently is approaching this Aries Ingress, the zero degree of Aries, and then as a fixed star moves so slow, so if we use alignment method, then that would be like another 100 years we are going to experience this. In one way, well, some astrologer will relate to this fixed star as related to ocean, but ocean disaster. But Benedict Bradley give a very beautiful meaning about inspiring. So that's what I also took in the it's like a free inspiring us to to explore. We have Caroline. Hi, Caroline.
Hey everyone, and happy New Moon Day for tomorrow. Could I possibly just request that our wonderful Chris Mitchell, who is indeed a national treasure, could tell us a little bit more about the calendar, because he did say that Scotland changed the calendar later than England, and I wonder how that was circumnavigated, because that would all be happening around the union of the parliaments.
I may have misspoken. I think it might have been that Scotland, I have Mark Cullen to thank for this, told me, oh yeah, well, we changed our, I think it might have been 1700, not 1800s, in which case Scotland beat England to it. And,
well, that's when the union of the parliaments was. I was saying it was all happening around the union of parliaments, wasn't it?
And so, I said to Mark, well, that's probably because the Scottish are cleverer than the English, and that's why they decided to change their clocks.
Thank you. I will accept the compliment. But I'd also like to say Mark Cullen certainly knows his history.
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, in fact, looking at it here, I cheated and did a quick look on Google. Scotland was already using January the 1st as New Year's Day. They shifted from March the 25th in 1600. So there you go. They were way ahead of us in England.
Well, King James VI and first was doing an awful lot at the beginning of the 1600s, wasn't he? He was doing an awful lot. So
thank you for that, Caroline, clearing up that misconception of mine.
Yeah.
No worry.
Can I just say I really enjoyed your introduction, though, Chris. You're always lovely to listen to.
Oh, well, thank you, Caroline. That's very kind of
you. Yeah. Laura say Scotland always doing things better. We all agree. Okay. And Benjamin say innovation and the
birth certificate. Yeah. If only innovation. We did that.
Innovation and the breakthrough around the vision experience possibly. Yes. Well, we have the last 10 minutes, around 10 minutes. Before we wrap up, I want to do a few advertising, all right, for the association. The first is the conference is going to open registration from the next week. So stay in tune and then grab your seat, okay? This year we have like a great lineup, and then we are very excited about this conference. It's in Nottingham, a nice place, and the food is great, and then we a very nice place. I love stargazing. It's a great place for stargazing. I was really enjoy. So please come to join us. And then also something as all of you join here today with Astro-Duet. We are trying to kind of remodule the Astro-Duet from maybe in May. We are discussing about maybe Astro-Duet will become the members free event. That means if you are association's member, you will join free. But if you are non-associations member, you maybe have to pay for tickets. So go to check your membership, okay? Go to check your membership. I know it sounds like a little bit different, but hey, we are doing quite a lot, and then we really need to boost up our membership, okay? So back to you.
Just to say, the AA is a charity, so we do depend on, and many of you have very kindly donated as well, which is wonderful. So thank you for that. But we need to make it obvious that there are benefits to membership rather than having everything being free, basically. So we are looking at ways of raising money and making sure that we can still continue to operate years into the future as a healthy charity.
Definitely. Okay, we have the fixed sign ascendant suggests that Aries Ingress exact next year, according to traditional astrology. Saturn applied to conjunct suggests the stify and sorrow for the war due to the effect of war. Ooh, look. Yeah, we can sense that at this moment, that the things are, it is very difficult, to be honest. It is very difficult not think about war at this time, because everything you see is like, wow.
Yeah, it's just I think we are bombarded by the media, and there's
Yeah.
so much other things, there's a lot, there's much more going on in the world, but obviously, and there's Saturn's there with Neptune. We're a bit fearful, perhaps. We've got
Mhm.
doubt, and it's easy to sort of focus on the fear rather than what we can do on our own worlds. We can create beautiful things in our own little world, can't we? In our own lives, because we certainly can't control what's going on in the White House.
Definitely. No one can control what happened in the White House. Robbie?
Could I give an idea what popped up? My father was Aries.
Uh-huh.
He was a
That's
very creative person. So maybe what you don't hear, or what I didn't hear anywhere, we focus on technology. We focus on war. But what about art?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it could be. Yeah. Yeah. Could be, because it's a one thing related to Neptune, and the Neptune Saturn conjunction always, make the idea and inspiration come into the form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Saturn
Rob.
can harness the vision and the imagination and the artistry of Neptune, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Robbie?
You're muted, Robbie.
That's all exactly right. And the Astrological Association conference, which happily I'll be able to attend, because my daughter will be married in France in that month, and so I'm visiting from Australia, and will come across to the UK as well. And the conference theme, I think, has been really brilliantly chosen as faith in the future. And I feel that this ingress chart that we're looking at really helps us to think of that theme of faith in the future, which has at least a double meaning, like that having some sense of confidence and positivity about the future, but then also asking what will be the nature of faith. And of course, faith opens up religious faith and the connection between astrology and deep cultural, artistic, creative trends. Like how will faith change? And my sense is that there's a growing alignment between faith and science that is a focus on truth. And as we move into this very positive energy of Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, also as Jupiter moves into Leo, Jupiter's just stationed direct in Cancer and is moving forward once again towards Leo. There's this very positive energy over the next couple of years that we should be able to counteract some of the difficulties facing our planet.
Well, thank you, Robbie. I think that's a really positive note to round off with. I would also say to everybody here, we can carry on the conversation about this or any other topic. We've got a really active Facebook group, which anybody's welcome to join. You don't have to be an AA member to join it. It's got thousands of members. It's really active. I'm just going to, for those of you that aren't already members, I'll just put the URL in the chat. So if you're on Facebook, I'd encourage you to join the Astrological Association Facebook group. Lots of great conversations going on there, and it doesn't matter whether you're a complete beginner or somebody with 50 years experience in astrology. It's everybody, and so the AA too is about anybody that's interested in astrology anywhere in the world. So do come along and join in the conversation as well.
Definitely, definitely. And then I
Thank
still
you.
see many comments come in. Christina mentioned about the Haumea and series. Lian, you're going to like this one, but I think we have a shorter time. But if Lian want to read and comment, and also Benjamin mentioned about the AI things, yes, and then Natalie mentioned about the Mars in Pisces directing those Aries planet. Yeah, it's the director of orchestra.
And Ron
The
also hosts a monthly new moon talk, of course.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, well, the advertising. I like this. So if you are not familiar, we have like every month we have like a new moon discussion between Lianne, me, Alejo, and Wendy. If you are more, this is more like to general public and more beginner oriented, and then Astro-Duet. I think everyone love Astro-Duet. This is like in-depth discussion, but also beginner are welcome to join us. And then we also kind of planning a few different, a program coming up. Lian is prepared for Stellar Show. That would be, beginner friendly. And then we have something maybe even more interesting we are planning. You are going to surprise in the future. So please, and that would be, a lot of them would be the, member only. So please check your membership, all right? Hello, Caroline.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm sorry, I've been a bit out of things for a while with a dreadful autumn and winter and ill health and what have you. Can you remind me how we join in to listen to your new moon chats? Do you have to send us a Zoom link or what?
Oh no, that new moon chat would be just pre-recorded and we release on YouTube.
Thank you.
So
You're
yeah,
It's going to be well worth listening to. I just can't remember how you get into everything. And...
Yeah, do you want to put the YouTube channel in
Sure,
the chat, Rod?
sure.
So
Yeah,
this
let
is
me
the
do it.
AA's YouTube channel, and these Astro-Duets are on it, and so are the new moon talks.
Sure, yes. Give me a minute.
I've actually been trying to work out who rules the Uranus in the 10th house, and I'm not particularly good. My astrology is a bit rusty at the moment, but I think it's Neptune and Mars in mutual reception.
I think so, aren't they? Mars, yes.
Well,
Yes.
Venus rules Uranus in Taurus.
Yeah, but Mars rules Venus in Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a mutual reception with Neptune.
Yeah.
So doesn't it mean that Neptune and Mars collectively then rule Uranus?
If you want to get that layered, yeah.
I just feel it's relevant because I think Uranus in the 10th house is bringing into issues things to do with our monarchy, our leader. We actually do have a king, and our sovereignty. And I know Lianne loves making everything nice, but I don't see Mars and Neptune as being a particularly good rulership of it.
I don't like
Given
making
that
everything nice.
Given that Uranus is so unpredictable.
I'm really sort of yeah. I look at both sides.
Yeah, well, that's because there's so much doom on the internet and you're trying to counterbalance, and I totally agree with doing that. But I mean, I don't see Neptune and Mars ruling Uranus in the 10th as being a brilliant thing. Chris, what do you think?
Well, I use traditional rulership, so I'm out of this argument.
End of conversation. Thank you, Jen. Jen said something very interesting. Vaporizing reality. I like that thing. That is so
I
cute.
do use modern planets, I hasten to add.
I mean, we are technically probabilistic electron clouds that are waveforms.
Yes.
And we are the manifestation of our astrologic forces because we are made out of tissues, out of cells and molecules and atomic orbitals. I mean, that's what we are. I mean, this is the manifestation of us, and we're seeing that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we say literal, we mean literal. It's literal. It's physical.
Yes. Oh, before we close today's astrological duet, I would like to thank everyone, especially Chris and Lianne, prepared such a wonderful topic to discuss. And thank you, Chris, share your knowledge, and thanks everyone here to share your inspiration and contribution. Especially Violeta, I really love what you say. I really love what you say, and we have to think positively. And we all learn from the before. We all learn from history, and we can make choice. Are we going to make things worse, or are we going to add a little bit of humanity to show the love to this world? That would be really, really beautiful. Thanks, everyone. And don't forget, we're coming back in May. But by that time, if you want to join for free, you have to be a member. All right. So please go to check up your membership. Yeah, I'm the salesman. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rod. Thanks, everybody,
Bye.
for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye.